Hello everyone, I'm Jane and welcome to this fast review of the Coldwind maps for Deathslinger. So, yesterday it was released the PTB of the 4.7 patch, and this means rework for the Coldwind maps. There is a lot to see, there is a lot to say, there are new spots, there are some spots removed. Let's try to see some of this together. So, I always considered Coldwind as one of the weirdest realms for Slinger. Why do I say this? Well, basically because these maps are not the best, weren't the best, and for him, but at the same time, these weren't the worst as well. Because actually, a really good Slinger can have a good time in these maps. You just have to have a good knowledge of its hitboxes, you need a good sense of predict, you need a good timing, a good aim, of course, and in that way, Coldwind maps will be a lot less painful to play in. The main problem was always the dimension of the maps. But for example, if you are a grid slinger, Rancid Abattoir wasn't never really hard map for him because it was small and it had a lot of short opportunities. So the first two holes I discovered are in the jungle gyms. As before the rework, these holes are really situational, maybe a bit less situational than the original holes, to be honest. But these are still some good options you can use in a chase if you know about this. Now let's speak about the crane. The crane has new shot opportunities and you can actually punish people who camp the window vault by hugging it. It's a tricky shot because you need to know where to start to shoot from to have a direct hit after the reeling. But it's actually possible to do that. You just need to have a slinger sense and choosing the right position to start shooting. In that way, you'll be able to achieve your direct hit with no problems at all. There are some other fancy things you can do around the crane, some fancy shots, some of these are more useful, like landing a direct hit, and other ones a bit more useless because the only thing you can do is breaking the chain. But I really like this new crane. There is a tiny hole I discovered at the long wall pallet loop, but I don't know how useful this can be in a real chase. Why? First of all, you have to camp the pallet. You have to be at the side of the pallet. And second point, the survivor should choose to loop from the short side of the wall. And usually good survivor prefer to loop from the other side. Now, as I say, the Coldwind maps are some of the hardest for Slinger. These are not impossible, but you need to be a really experienced slinger who knows about hitboxes, who knows about the hitboxes of the survivor, who knows about map knowledge, who knows where to start shooting, who has to have a good sense of predict, who at the end needs to have a good aim as well. So it's not easy, but it's important to know that the more you train, the more you'll be able to counter some of the hardest loops of this game. And this can be really, really satisfying. So shooting over the straw base loops actually still allow you to get a good hit on survivors. Also, some of these loops, if not all of these loops, have hidden holes. Some of these are hidden in the low side of the wall, and other ones are hidden in the right middle of the loop itself. Let's speak about the shack now. I'm really disappointed about the new shack. The only good closed window is the first one, because there are actually two closed windows of the shack, but the second one is a bit too tricky. I wouldn't even try to shoot through the second window during a real chase because, yes, you can actually do it. The projectile can actually go through it, but you need a really perfect aim to achieve it. And during a chase where you have to follow the movements of the survivor, you need to be ready to shoot. you need to know where to shoot and be fast enough. It's not worth it. Now, coming back to straw-based loops, look how long is this wall. Imagine if you don't know about these holes, or if you have to play this loop normally, how long a survivor can take you busy with this. Because it's really long, you are a 4.4, it can be really painful actually to work around this. But, if you know about the holes, if you have a good sense of timing, if you can read the movements of the survivors, imagine how faster you'll be able to close these loops. It's not easy, but it's worth it to actually learn how to manage these loops in this alternative way. Now let's speak about the new cow tree loop. This actually was heavily nerfed for survivors, especially against Slinger. Slinger is actually the killer that will have the easier time in this kind of loop. It's full of holes, the wall itself is lower, they removed some obstacles, and reeling them for a direct hit is a lot easier than before. I even feel like the loop itself is even shorter. I'm not sure about that, but I feel like that. And you know, I think that Slinger players will have fun now in these loops. Survivor a bit less, and it will be a lot more dangerous to actually choose to loop a Slinger or to waste some time with the Slinger. It's better to say it in this way, in this kind of loop. Just one thing for Slinger players. There is a spot that at the moment looks like as weird hitboxes. I don't know if they are gonna fix this in the final release, I'm not sure about that, but if you pay attention to it, if you are experienced enough, you'll avoid to be robbed from that broken hitbox. About the loop I call the cart loop, you can still shoot through the holes. This is still a bit tricky, but not impossible, especially for experienced the Slinger. But there are some new things. There is a really important change. If you're able to make them crouch at the particular spot, you can actually shoot at their feet, and it's a lot easier than actually try to get them through the hole with them keep moving around it. So pay attention to it. Now let's speak about main buildings and especially Rancid Abattoir. With these holes, you can get a ton of value and the difference between a really long chase and a really short chase. Because these holes are really, really useful. I also think that these are not really situational. I also think that these are kinda hard, but not harder than a lot of stuff I showed you before, than even the shackles as well. So if you are a Slinger, if you aim to be a Slinger player, you definitely have to master these holes. Because even if you are not able to go for a direct hit, you close a lot of distance. Imagine if this survivor could be able to just go around the main building all the time and you just have to follow them as a 4.4 killer. It wouldn't be worth it. So, I highly recommend you to not be afraid, to follow the movements of the survivor. It's kinda easy because you can see everything through this building. And try these shots every time you can. So, about the main building itself, there are still some holes in the walls. A lot of these are kinda useless though, unless you aim to just break the chain and let them go far from you. The really important thing about the building is that you can hit through all the fences of this, so be careful as a survivor and pay attention as a slinger. Even where they added this drinking trough that I thought it was added to allow a safe vault for the survivors, you can actually hit through in the PTB. I don't know if this will be confirmed for the live release of the patch though. Now let's jump to another map. Thompson House has no tiny old spots, really useful to speak about, but there is still the possibility to shoot at them while they are vaulting the window of the house and you are still at the staircase. About the fractured cowshed, there are some holes you can use for injured survivor by breaking the chain, other ones you can use to land a direct hit. You have to just pay attention to all these cracks on the walls. About Torment Creek, it got a lot of new bigger holes in the main building, useful even for hunters now, but they closed some important holes where you can see this plant on the wall close to the window. So this was my really fast review of the new Coldwind maps as a Deathslinger. Of course, during the live release of the new maps, we'll discover new stuff. We'll see if some of these holes will still work, or we'll see if some hitboxes will be fixed as well. I didn't speak about the Rotten Fields because there are no main buildings there, just the tiles I actually showed you. The only one tile I wasn't able to find in all the tests I got in this map was the LT wall. I don't know why, but it looked really rare as a tile. But not only for me, also a lot of people say that they only found it once or twice in their wall PTB experience. If there will be some holes there, it's actually a mystery for me. Also, speaking about rotten fields, about the corn, I don't know what to think because it actually looks like it's harder to see through this. I'm not sure about it, but you know, I feel like the core snipes will be the same as usual. So if you add a good sense of predict for this, because actually it's the most important feeling and think about core snipes, you'll still have probably a good time at this. It's still a bet, but you know, it's that kind of shot that gives you a high reward, high risk situation. About the general feeling about these maps, I feel like the new shots, the new spots in the jungle gyms are more useful than the previous ones. And the new Rancid Abattoir can be even more fun for Slinger now. I always considered it as a silent, really good map for Slinger because you can work around all the loops if you are good enough, and the map wasn't so big. So I think that the new Rancid Abattoir can be even more fun than before. That's all. We'll see more of these with the live release probably in 3 weeks during the Twitch stream. You can still follow me on the J Romero Show Twitch channel. And thank you for watching me. I'll see you next time. Jane.